Hey everybody, Brock Boyd, CMI, and today I want to talk to opportunity seekers who are looking to get into sales and or tech sales specifically, who are not doing that today. And I'm going to break that into two groups. One would be the more entry-level group that's got 0 to 2 years of work experience but has not done sales and or tech sales specifically in the past. And the other group would be people who have, say, 10, 15, 20 years of career experience in a different career and they're looking to shift into sales. And the way that those two would go about getting their first position in sales or in technology sales would actually be probably quite a bit different. So starting with group one, the kind of more entry-level group, you're usually looking at getting started in a role that can be referred to as an SDR or a BDR, which is sales development representative or business development representative. And the functional role of that person is basically trying to make contact with potential prospects, do a little bit of qualification on whether or not they're a good prospect, and if the answer is yes, set up a meeting between that prospect and one of the existing account executives with the company. The account executive, of course, is the person who does the full cycle of sales from prospect to close and everything in between. And the SDR, BDR does more of a portion of the front end, which is the prospecting and a little bit of the qualification, and then basically doing a handoff to the account executive to run with it from there. In the technology sales world, most of the time you are going to have to start in one of these roles, and depending on a variety of factors, spend anywhere from, let's say, 12 to 18 months and sometimes more in that role before moving into full cycle sales. There are some industries that have historically hired people straight into a full cycle sales role, like the copier industry, so selling copiers business to business, selling telecom business to business, and to some degree the staffing industry, which the sales side of that is a business to business sale. But what happens is if you want to move from that into software sales, there is a chance that you would actually have to move into this role for some period of time before going back into a full cycle role. So these are some things to consider. Not impossible to get in a full sales cycle role when it's your first sales role, but difficult, and much easier to start out in this role and then move into this one. There's also account management or customer success manager roles, which are dealing with existing customers. That is probably, from my point of view, the hardest to get for someone who is more of entry level, doesn't have any sales experience, because that's dealing with existing customers. And so for reasons I can go into on another video, that would be a harder thing to step into as an entry level person. For group two that spent 10, 15, 20 years in another industry, you've been an accountant for 10, 20 years, you've been a lawyer for 10, 20 years, or whatever it is, but you've always had some component of selling to your job, and you've always felt like you enjoyed it and you were good at it, and so why not pursue doing this full time? And you've finally, probably over the course of a long period of time, made the decision that's a shift that you want to make. It is difficult for a variety of reasons, and one of those is compensation. It's very hard to stay whole with whatever your compensation is for what you've been doing for 10, 15, 20 years, or even really close to that when moving into sales for the first time, because to them, the hiring organization, you're basically an entry-level salesperson to them. So to have a much more expensive price tag makes it more difficult. There's also going to be concern, are you going to be able to do the prospecting aspect that's required in sales? Are you going to like it when that's your full-time occupation? So the easiest way to do it from my point of view is, if you've been an accountant for 10, 20 years, then look for a company that has a product that is related, so like accounting software, or look for an opportunity to sell into accounting firms, something that ties your background to what you would be doing in that sales capacity, either from a customer standpoint or a product standpoint. And if you've been a lawyer, been an attorney, then can you find an organization that sells legal related software or information, or that sells into the legal vertical specifically, and this will make it a much easier path. And then once you get a couple years under your belt as a full-time salesperson, it's much easier to then shift into selling something that is totally unrelated to your prior background. That is it for this week. Happy hunting.